It is day 651 of fun for you.
Yeah.
And how did you start counting your days of fun?
Yeah. Well, I I know we both have October birthdays, which is October 1st for me, October 2nd for you.
Uh,
And you're coming up to a big one, right? This
yes, I
year?
am. Yes, I
Number
am.
number 50. So I'm gonna be 52 this October, but a couple years ago, when I was coming up to my 50th, somebody asked me, what are you going to do for your birthday? It's a big one. I was at a conference and it was a enterprising women conference in Orlando and I had my then 15-year-old with me and because they had a young enterprising women part of that conference. And she was sitting at the table with us and they're like, yeah, what are you going to do? It's a big day. And I thought about it and I said, I'm going to have 50 days of fun leading up to my 50th birthday. Every day I'll do something fun and then, culminate on the big day. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And I thought that would be cute, be playful, be fun. But I didn't think it'd be as life-changing as it turned out to be. So I started to have my fun every day and I would share it on Facebook just for some personal accountability. And then by day 46, and I was like, oh, this fun is almost going to be done. But I realized I was falling so deeply in love with my life that I didn't want to stop at 50. And I thought, I'm going to do 365 days and I would invite other people to join me. So I posted, I said, I'm going to do this, but if anyone wants to join the party, I created a group called Fabulous Fun Year Around the Sun. Come join. We'll do monthly themes. You can do as much or as little as you want. That's fun for you. And we started to do it. And then my fun anniversary was August 13th. And then I thought maybe I'll just go to 500 days. And that was Christmas Eve was 500 days. And as you can see, I'm still going.
Still
And
going
it's
strong.
been incredible.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting how we as humans think we have these dates like 10 days, 5 days, and then 18 because you become an adult, so 5, 10,
Yeah.
15, 20, 21 because you get to drink. Maybe 15, 16 depending on what group of people you're in, because I know the quinceañeras,
Yes.
we have all these different traditions around birthdays and celebrating these special magical numbers. So
Yes.
50 definitely is a big one. And to decide that it's the time for fun, I think was really, really an excellent decision on your part. And so can you tell us a little bit more about the Fun and Bliss movement and Blisscipline and how that's all, grown and culminated since, your first little inkling of, okay, I'm going to do this and you guys can join in and
Yeah. So my daily fun is one of my Blissciplines. And I love this word. I wish I could take credit for it. I don't know who else uses it now, uh, but it's like those habits, uh, disciplines that we have that lead to a life of bliss, right? So, um, I, I was all about, um, Blissciplines for a while. And then in 2017, actually, I wrote a book about real estate investing. It was the Real Estate Investor Goddess Handbook, but part of it was how do you do this as a goddess? And as part of that, so before I was already about daily pleasure. So I'd studied with this woman. She goes by Mama Gina. Regina Thomas Shower is her name. She was all about helping women use the power of pleasure to have their way with the world. And um, so pleasure had to doing something pleasurable every day had long been a practice for me. And it was a discipline. But there was something and fun is pleasurable. So fun is part of pleasure. And I but it is a lot more, is what I found out, right? So it's a part of pleasure, and um, there's a woman, Catherine Price, who wrote about the power of fun. She defined true fun. So she's a she's been a fun researcher that a lot of,
Hmm.
so she defined fun as the true fun, as the intersection of playfulness, connection, and flow. Playfulness, connection, and flow. And there is an aliveness and a very present. So to fun is not necessarily an activity as much as a feeling, right? Because you could, I'm sure you might have been in a really miserable situation, like quote unquote miserable on the outside. That was super fun, right? Maybe it's like you're stuck in a blackout, but it's fun because you're with certain people and you end up having like a really fun experience. Or you're like I've
Hurricane parties
done
in New Orleans.
yeah, or like you're in a mud run, right? You're like crawling through mud.
Mm,
And like for some
mm,
people, like I've done one of those mud runs with my family. It was super fun, right? But normally it's like would like a mud crawl. Like, is that actually fun? It can be just as you can be in an amusement park and not have fun, right?
mm.
You could be at a party and not be having fun. So it's not necessarily the activity. But it's that feeling, and then when you're having that a feeling of playfulness, connection with, and often that's with other people, but it could also be with nature, it could be with animals, it could be with a higher power, and then flow, that flow state. So that's that state where time seems to stand still, and it's very present. That's true fun. So with this 651 days that I've been on, I have not had true fun every day, but I've had to have had at least two of the three.
Mm.
So a lot of times people can be having leisure, they can be having pleasure, right? Like could be pleasurable to binge watch Netflix. Um, but often that kind of pleasure is numbing, right? So a lot of what people do these days for fun is
Mm.
just numbing, right? So they're on social media, they're binging a show, they're eating a lot, they're drinking a lot to numb, and they're not alive. So many moms, so many feel really, not just moms, but they feel really flat. Like on paper, everything looks great, and they don't know why there's no sense of aliveness. And a lot of them talk to me and they go, I don't even know what's fun anymore. They're so disconnected from that feeling and from having it. So when I started to have fun every day, as opposed to pleasure, because I would do pleasure, and sometimes, pleasure can be, and it could be little too, just like smelling the roses and savoring that, right? And it's great. I'm actually a big fan of pleasure. But when I added fun, it just, it was like adding fuel to the fire, right? It just
Yeah.
sparked, and there's this aliveness and the joy, and it's just like, because fun has so much energy to it. And so it changed my life.
Yeah, I
It's
can
incredible.
imagine because even as you broke those down about fun being the intersection of playfulness, connection, and flow, when you were talking about it, like you say, we do these things that we call self-care or fun or relaxing, and we're wondering why we still feel empty. And it's like it's missing that connection piece, or maybe it's missing the flow, or maybe it's missing the playfulness. Because yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable to definitely to sit down and binge watch a TV show, but I'm not really
Yeah.
connecting with any real person while I'm doing that. I may feel like I'm relating to the characters or something, but
Yeah.
maybe if I have a friend over and we're watching it together, maybe that's a little bit more fun,
Yes,
than just
exactly.
watching it by
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah. So that's interesting to think about that, the difference between pleasure and fun. I'm really glad that you shared that with us because I
Yeah.
never would have thought of that one on my own.
And that just came to me through the experience of it. And with the fun is a part of pleasure, right? So
Mm,
it's not separate, distinct. It's just a very playful, alive,
version.
energizing um, part of pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for everyone that's watching this live, or if you catch this on the replay, I'm sorry, we're just kind of getting into the conversation, but joining us today is Monick Halm. She went from burnt out attorney to real estate investor to joy advocate. And honestly, her story is just one I think a lot of you are truly going to connect with. She's the co-founder of the Fun and Bliss Movement, co-host of the Fun and Bliss Show, and the woman behind a growing community dedicated to helping people go from feeling fine to feeling fully alive. After completing her 50 days of fun challenge before her 50th birthday, she discovered that fun is not frivolous, it is actually transformational. And that realization became the foundation of everything else she does today. And so I'm just so happy to have you here with us, Monique, and breaking this down. And can you share some more with us about your journey of where you started off with as far as becoming an attorney and going to college and doing all the right things? How did that
Yes.
go?
And that was it. I was doing all the right things, right?
Oh, did
I'm
I
a
lose
first
your
generation
sound? Is it just
American.
me? Oh,
Can you
it's
hear me?
back. Yeah, I
Okay.
just lost it on my end for some reason. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have great parents, super supportive, uh, first generation American. They're from Haiti, and they were always like, Monique, you can be anything you want, but in parentheses, as long as you're a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer, because that for them would be acceptable. And that was success if I was one of those things. And I was not as into the maths and sciences, didn't think I wanted to do academia. So it's like, I guess I'll be a lawyer. So that's how that happened. And I took the LSAT. I ended up going to Columbia Law School, um, and went on to a big law firm. And as I was, going through that process, it was, it was never fun. It never felt good. And in fact, I remember my first semester of law school, I started to have these really bad stomach aches. And so I went to the clinic, the medical clinic there, Columbia, and the doctor checked me out and he asked me some questions and then he went out, came back and he said, "Okay, you're suffering from law school." I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, technically it's something called irritable bowel syndrome. I could give you some medicine, but really it's stress." And he says, "Yeah, we get quite a few of the law students that come in here for that, but he's like, it's stress. So try yoga, try meditation." And I was like, okay. So that's when it first started to make me sick, when I was in law school. But I did start to do yoga and meditate, and it helped, and I graduated. And I thought, okay, well, law school is stressful. Surely it'll be better when I'm working in the law firm. So I become a first year law. I'm an associate in a big law firm, making lots of money. Everything looks great on paper. I have a fancy car. I'm in LA. I'm living in Santa Monica, ocean view, apartment, all is well on paper. Um, and not so well, in that job. It was the stress came back, amplified, ended up, the stress stomach aches came back. I was ignoring them, ended up having a ruptured appendix
Mm.
and ended up in the hospital for 9 days. And when I first got to the ER, the doctor told me that my appendix had ruptured. I thought, and then I'd have to be in the hospital for several days and then afterwards at home for 30 days to recover. My first thought when he told me that was, oh, thank God I don't have to go to work for at least 30 days. And my next thought was, oh, wait, that's bad. Right? Like, that's not healthy, right? If being in the hospital with a life-threatening, excruciating illness is preferable than being at work, then there's something wrong with work, right? There's something wrong. And
Yeah, kind
but
of
I had done
incredible.
everything right,
Hmm.
right? All the Ivy League, went to university, did well, Ivy League law school, big firm, like one of the biggest firms in the world. making
Living the dream,
six
right?
figures. Yeah, I was living the dream, right? Everything I was told would make me happy and successful, and I was that miserable. Um, I wish I could say that I left that hospital and I went, F this, because I'm not doing this anymore. It wasn't, I did shift. So I went on some twists and turns. Maybe this firm is bad. Maybe this other firm is bad. Maybe this small. But ultimately, there was, and there were other illnesses too. I got shingles. I would have panic attacks, and eventually I left. So, um, and leaving, again, I wish I could say that was because I was so wise and I just trusted. But the my last time leaving the law was not my choice.
Mm.
So I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was in a small law firm at that point, and I'm doing intellectual property litigation, and I thought, yeah, so it was, I thought smaller law firm would be better situation, but really it was more hours for less pay. But I was okay. I would have stuck it out. I had a mouth to feed that was coming in, and I was the main breadwinner in my family. I was earning more than my husband. And a month, so I was about 5 months pregnant, and I told my boss that I was going to that I was pregnant. And a week later, he called me in. I had thought I would get a bonus 'cause I've been working so hard, so many nights past midnight, but instead I got fired. Uh,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Oh wow, that's how I felt. I was like, oh, what? I was like, whoa. Um, and so yeah, so I got fired, and it was not something I would have asked for, but it would turn out to be a really big gift. So Allie ended up being born, and it was, I'll back up a little bit. So I'm 5 months pregnant. Up until then, I just looked like I was getting fat,
Mhm.
and I was annoying. My sister-in-law was pregnant at the same time, and she just had the perfect little belly bump. You like baby bump. And I was just so jealous because I just looked fat. She looked pregnant. And then I was so excited. And it's like right after I told my boss that I was expecting, or my bump came out, and I was like, oh, I look pregnant. I'm so excited. Finally, I look pregnant, and then I get fired, and I'm like, shoot, I look pregnant. No one's gonna hire me. Why
Oh,
couldn't I just look fat?
yeah. A little bit
I
longer, just a little bit longer. We can look fat.
was like, no one's gonna hire the pregnant lady.
Mm.
I thought, okay. So I said, I'll just wait until after I give birth, take
Mhm.
a short maternity period, then I will look for a job. And Allie was born August, late August of 2008. You
Mm.
might remember what happened in the fall of 2008. So within a
Yeah.
month of her birth, the markets were in free fall. It was a horrible time to start looking for
Hmm.
a job, right? Just people were getting fired left, right, and center, and it was a terrible time for that, and a wonderful time because I could not. Um, I mean, I could have if I really wanted to, but I really didn't want to. So it was.
No, we were
It,
pregnant around the same time and probably got fired around the same time for being
oh,
pregnant. I have a
oh, look at
2008
us! So
summer
many,
baby too.
so many. We have
And
so
it's
many
like, yeah, I'm
conflicting.
like, how do I get a job pregnant? Like, what do I do now?
Mhm.
And I was
I mean,
I looked very pregnant
I, yeah,
by
well, when
then.
I needed a job, I looked very pregnant too. So,
Exactly. Like I looked very
yeah.
pregnant by then because my baby she's a June baby. So yeah, that 2008 time being pregnant was not easy.
No, no, it wasn't. And it would have been okay if I hadn't gotten fired.
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
it was definitely one of the best gifts I received.
Mm.
And that getting fired at that particular time, for my previous business was teaching women how to invest in real estate. And that is when my real estate journey had really begun, um, in earnest. So I did have a rental property, but we ended up selling one, and then we had some cash, and we started to flip houses, and then we ended up getting into, bigger real estate and apartment buildings and industrial facilities, different things like that. But that journey began then, and got me into real estate, which turned out to be a gift of its own. And so I went on this for 9 years. I was doing real estate investor classes, teaching women how to invest in real estate from the divine feminine with pleasure, and the pleasure being a big part of that, and not through hustle, not through grind. So already that was a big part of my philosophy. Like we're often taught we need to struggle to struggle through work, right? No pain, no gain, and man up, muscle through. It's very masculine. And I knew that didn't hadn't worked for me, and I believed it didn't work for most women. And so we were talking about investing in this different way. And then I started to do my fun journey. And like I said, I found this whole new level, over pleasure, just pleasure. Not that I wouldn't have fun often, but there was something about having fun every day that started to really shift things for me. And that also started to make it so that things that were not fun, I could not do anymore. I was just lost the ability to not do fun, to not have fun. So, and my business was not fun. It was not
Mm,
being fun for me. There were elements of it that were very pleasurable.
mm,
And I had, and there were times when it was super pleasurable and I'd really enjoyed it, but it had been a while that I hadn't been very fun.
mm,
And I had been resistant to making a shift, but as I started to reach for fun every day, I I couldn't I couldn't not. I just kind of lost. Things had to be fun. It was too painful when it was not fun.
mm.
Uh, it I don't know if you've ever do you know the KonMari method or the life-changing magic of tidying up, Marie Kondo? Have you ever
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
it was a while back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that, so I have you done it? Those
Kind
doing the
of
spark
tried
joy.
to, kind of signed it, kind of tried it and then forgot about it. And then what was the other one that came out, I think, around there? Like, do you
And
love it? Or like releasing things like, I love you,
I
thank you
think,
for serving me, and like letting it go, like trying to get stuff out of the house and all those
yeah.
kind of
So
different
I mean,
ways.
that's the life-changing method. So you
Yeah,
basically you pick up something and it's like, does this spark joy?
yeah,
Like, sort of like, yes, no,
yeah,
you like feel into the joy of it. Okay? The
yeah.
object, each object has this feeling, and you're feeling into the joy of it. And if it sparks joy, you keep it. If not, so
Exactly.
it was this was life changing. Talk about the life changing magic of time, and here's why I think it's life changing. So, because this is what had happened to me, as I'm feeling things, and you take like you do all your t-shirts
All
and
your
all your
clothes,
shirts
yeah.
at a time, right? Not all the clothes, all the
Yeah, yeah.
shirts.
Yes,
Then you'll do
specific
all the
groups.
pants. So then you'll do all that, like, yeah, yeah. So but as you're doing like picking up this shirt, does it spark joy? No. Throw away. Does this spark joy? Yes. All right. And so it's calling, but you're really getting into that feeling tone of joy.
Mm,
And so what happened to me is as I was doing that and I'm really like feeling joy, yes, no, joy, yes, no. People who didn't spark joy, I couldn't hang
mm,
out with.
mm,
Situations that didn't spark joy, I started to let go of. And the same thing happened with the fun, because every day it's like, is this fun? Am I feeling fun? Is this fun? Is this fun? Is this fun? How do I add fun to this? How do I have fun today? And so as I'm really like feeling into fun every day, then I would do these things that were like really not fun. It's like, I'm like, this is not fun. I can't handle it. And either it's like, let me try to make things more fun. So I would try, but then
Hmm.
it's like, this is more fun, but I really can't handle how like ultimately
Not
not fun
fun it
this is
is.
for me.
Yeah. You're
And
like, I don't need to do this anymore. We're just
I,
gonna
I
take that
didn't,
out.
I didn't.
Remove that from the list.
And I recognize that the things that are fun are that's what's meant for me to be doing.
Exactly.
It's my
Exactly.
compass. So
Yes.
true north is fun. When
Hmm.
it's not fun, I need to like veer back to fun. And
Hmm.
as I've made fun my compass, my life's been just completely incredible. And it's not that I had a bad life before. I had a really enjoyable, very pleasurable life. But it's just this whole new level of juiciness and excitement and joy and just play. It's shifted my life in so many ways. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
There's levels to the joy, as they say. So sometimes you think, oh, yeah, this is great. But it's like, there's another level you haven't even experienced yet. Like, come try this. Like, hey, come over
yeah,
here. Just like
fun is
even with health and energy, like for me, when I learned, how it felt to actually like have your nervous system calm down, like to not be in fight or flight after being in fight or flight your whole life. Like, wait, what is this? My whole life, people have been asking you, how are you doing? You're like, fine, fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then you're like, wait, this is so much better than fine. Like, I didn't even know this was available. So yeah, like fun, I
yeah,
think it has those different levels to it. And we just need
it
to
does.
find the ways to experience all these different levels of life for ourselves. And I think it's so sad when people don't. So I'm happy that you
Yeah.
guys are out there spreading fun and bliss.
Yes, yeah. And the bliss piece.
Mm-hmm.
So my partner in this is Monica. I'm kind of more the fun lane. She's the bliss lane, but
Mm-hmm.
that I've been talking about blissciplines for a long time. And bliss is that state of it's kind of like the steady state, like regardless of what happens in life, because life will life you,
Mm-hmm.
then that kind of you can go back to this that almost that regulated nervous like that sense of
Mm-hmm.
peace, that sense of everything's okay. I'm taken care of. Life's got me. Like that sense of but for me that's bliss and it's this like joy and peace and the sense of all is rightness, regardless of what's going on, right? That's the okay, I've been fired, but I know everything's working out for me. Right? I
Yeah.
just know all is working out. Um, and that this is maybe there's this I'm sick and I'm in the hospital, but I know things are working out for me. And it's like regardless, like or mom's sick or whatever's happening,
Mm-hmm.
that's for me, that's bliss. Maybe that
Yeah.
part of
Kind of
like,
like a set
yeah,
point
it's your
of
set point,
peace
but
and
it's
joy and
yes, and just trust and just
mm-hmm.
like that like everything's okay.
I love
Like,
that.
all right. So that's bliss.
That's bliss.
And fun as a blisscipline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it kind of it's almost for me, fun is joy in practice. It's happiness
Mm-hmm.
in practice. It's an active um choice and it just adds this a lot. Like not only is like everything okay, but everything is great.
Yeah. I love,
But
I love that.
like,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, there's a lot of energy to it.
So much better than people would imagine sometimes. So,
Yeah.
if what Monique is saying about fun and she's speaking about with bliss, is bringing up any questions or ideas for you, please feel free to put them in the chat, or if you're catching this later, put it in the comments and we will get back to you. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. How do you have fun? Where do you experience fun and bliss in your life? And that makes me think, Monique, what was your first fun that you started? Do you remember what you started with?
I do. I do remember day one. And Allie was really cute. She went on chat and came up with a list of 50 things for me. She's like, my mom is doing this thing, and she's
Hmm.
like, here's a list you can. So she came up with 50 ideas, but one of them was to have a picnic, and so I went with my daughter and my husband, and we went and did a sunset. We did a sunset picnic at
Hmm.
a park nearby and packed up some, got some food and we're sitting out in the grass and there was this jungle gym right there. So I hopped on it and I slid down the slide and I went on the swing set. Yeah, played on the jungle gym a little bit. I was trying to get them to join me. They were not doing that. I was like, that's
You
okay.
goofers, but it's okay.
But I was like, I can be playful and silly, so I just played on the jungle gym a little bit, and we had a beautiful picnic and talked while the sun set. That was
I
my
love
first day.
that. I love that. That reminds me of a client I was working with, and one of the things that we do is I'm like, okay, now you need to start adding fun to your life. And so we're
Yeah.
like brainstorming what could she do for fun. And she was like, you know what? It's like, what? She goes, I have a playground in my backyard, like a, play set for the kids. I'm like, oh, cool. What do you like to do? And she goes, I used to love to swing, but I haven't got on a swing in I don't know how many years. I'm like, why not? It's in your backyard. It's not like who's back there judging you, you know? She goes, that's right. I'm gonna go get on the swing. And I'm like, do it. Get on the swing every day if you can and just have some fun. So yeah, adults, we need to swing too. We miss swinging
Ew.
and sliding and jumping. And with my daughter, sometimes we'll go for a walk and there's like stairs and stuff that we go down to get to the beach and we're like skipping down the stairs because like we forget to skip as adults. You skipped all the time when you were a kid. Why did you stop skipping? Skipping's
Skipping is
fun.
so fun. I definitely have had quite a bit of skipping these past
Yeah.
651 days. Skipping, jumping, have a little trampoline, like
Yeah.
my trampoline. Yeah, a good hack is to think about what was fun for you as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and especially like a non-tech fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yes, over this journey has been a lot of swinging, there's been hopscotch, there's been coloring and
Mm-hmm.
art and painting. I made a blanket fort
Oh,
from
yes. I've been trying to get
in my
them
living
to,
room.
I've been trying to get everyone on board to do a blanket fort in the living room, but no one wants to do it. I'm just going to have to do it by myself. I'm like, you
I did
guys
it
sure you don't want
myself.
to
That's what
build a
I did.
fort in the living room? We can build
I
a
built
fort and
I
watch a movie.
I built a blanket fort. Actually, I was reading under
Hmm.
my blanket fort, which is what
Yeah,
I like
yeah, that
to do as
works
a kid.
too.
So blanket fort, pillow fights, with
Hmm.
my husband. That's been really fun. Um, so those are some of the like board games,
Mm, yeah,
um,
yeah. So what would
puzzles.
you, yeah,
Yeah.
puzzles and games are always good. What would you say to a woman that's watching right now that maybe feels guilty about making herself have time for fun or prioritizing fun? She's like, oh, but yeah, I have all this, and this to do. So I don't have
Yeah.
time for fun.
So yeah, there's so much like in our I'm trying I got these like really sweet Mother's Day cards for my kids, my stepkids, and they were just like I'll maybe share a little bit. But yes, so the we often think that we're taught that we're adults, right? We got a adult and adults don't have fun. That's something for kids. Maybe you can have some fun after the work is done. You can have some fun happy hour on Fridays. You can have some fun when you have a vacation. But that like it's relegated to those times. And it's not something we're like, we're too serious and we gotta be productive. And so fun is left by the wayside and it's thought of as frivolous and unimportant and not just a waste of time, and it takes you away from the important things. What I have found is that, on the contrary, adding fun to things makes it so much better for you and everyone around you. Fun is contagious. So, fun has been so good for my marriage, for my relationship with my kids, for business, for for my relationships with friends and colleagues. Right? There's a magnetism to fun that it like eases the way. Also, I don't know if you've heard of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's one of the, if not, I think it's like the best-selling business book ever, or like
Yeah.
one of the best-selling nonfiction books in history. I heard him recently on a podcast, and he was, I think it'd been 15, it's been 10 or 15 years since that book originally came out. And he was asked,
Wow.
like, is there anything that you would change about that book? Or, do you have any new insights? And he said, I wouldn't change anything, but I would add something. He
Mm.
says, when you're trying to make a habit, and our life is determined by the quality of our habits. So when you're trying to make a habit, he said, I would suggest you make it fun. It's like add
Yes.
fun. So if you want to exercise, like what exercises would be fun for you?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
there's something you're trying to do. It's like if you can add fun to it, you don't have to white knuckle to get it done,
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
gonna want to do it because we want to have fun, right? We're taught that it's okay, but when something is fun, we don't have to force ourselves to do it. It like pulls us. And it's like if you're doing it, you go to the so I go to my weekly yoga class that I love. It's really fun for me. It's like Zumba, and it's fun. So I don't have to be forced to go. And that's the thing about fun. It makes it when you can layer it onto those other things, it not only is it a better experience for you, it's a better experience for everyone else, and you'll do the things that are fun. So the other things you need to do, if you can find a way to make them fun, wow. And life is so joyous when it's
Indeed.
filled with fun.
Indeed. Yeah, that's why some of the things like drinking water that are so boring, it's like get a fun bottle, drink it out of a fun wine glass, add some berries, all these little things
Yeah,
that
a
can
little
make drinking
mint and
water fun.
lemon. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
so.
And then the whole exercising thing, like you said, instead of calling it exercise, we're like, okay, let's just find some fun movement. And I remember like always being told, like, you need to run, you need to run, you need your cardio. And I'm like, I hate running. And then I finally got one of those little tiny trampolines that you can have in your house. And that was like the most fun for me. I can bounce around on that thing all day. Like, I don't need to do cardio. This is cardio. I don't have to go run on a treadmill or sit in some gym. I can just bounce on the trampoline and watch my favorite show or something, or read a book or listen to an audio. Or, yeah. So
Yeah,
just finding fun ways to do the things that you're going to do anyways, or the things that are good for you that you have to
yeah,
start doing but don't want to. Like you said, definitely finding a
absolutely.
way to make them fun helps. And so, what would be a way that you would describe like how fun really expands your capacity to be able to do more things?
So one of the ways is that you don't necessarily need to do more things. Like I
Hmm.
find that when I'm in fun, things are magnetized to me. I don't, I'll give you an example. This has just happened recently, this past week. So I wrote a novel, partly because it was fun, but I had started writing it during the pandemic. And I wrote it and then edited, came back to it and back. I got back into it during this fun journey and finished it. So I had this finished, like I have this manuscript. And then I go, I don't know what to do with this novel right now. It's like it's done, but how do I get a literary agent? How do I do that? I don't know. So it's just kind of in the and so it's just sitting there. No idea. Then I'm having fun. I'm at a party and I sit next to this woman who start somehow we start talking about being writers and she's talking about her literary agent. I said, I don't know how to get one. And she said, oh, I used to work for a literary agency for 6 years. And anyway, she offers to read my book. I was like, wow, amazing. So I send it to her and I don't hear back. And I'm like, and it's like a little over a month, and maybe it's a month and a half at this point. And I'm like, do I respond? Do I follow up? I'm like, no, I don't want to force her to tell me it's shitty. Sorry, excuse my French. I don't want to tell her that like I don't want her to say, don't quit your day job, So I will. I'll just let it go. So 2 days later, she sends me a message that I just finished your book. He says it was stunning and superbly written, it's all caps, superbly. He says let's get on a call to talk about next steps. So it's like, yay. Anyway, long story short, she loved it. She's sending it to the literary agent for me, and it'll go
Yeah.
on whatever journey it goes on. But I did not have to do anything for that situation to show up. I was just having fun at a party and talking to a new person. And that came up. And that all things like that are happen for me all the time.
Hmm.
And so fun has opened up that for me, just in terms of manifesting things with ease. Uh, but also, um, it opens up my capacity it's definitely made me more creative. So
Mm.
I've gotten I got writing again and I wrote that and then I worked on another novel and I wrote a book about my fun journey, which now I'm in the process of publishing. So I've done a lot of writing. I've started painting again. I started doing
Mm.
pottery. I've been having a lot of like creative fun. And that's opened me up. I've created a new business around the fun with a community of was practicing fun. And as I focus on when I work. So yesterday in our community, we had a woman come in. She came up. She has this concept it's called plurk. It's basically play plus work. So how do you add play to work? So we had a conversation in our Fun and Bliss collective about how doing that, adding
I'm
more
sorry.
fun to that. So all of that adds, like, I think it makes for a capacity. You want to do what you're doing, but you also don't have to do as much.
Hmm. Yeah, it comes naturally because you're having fun. So as you're
Yeah.
having fun, you're just doing more because it's fun instead of it
And
being a drag and you're like, I don't want to do that because it's a drag.
yeah. And you're a magnet
Yes,
when you're
yes.
having fun.
You
You're
become
so
magnetic.
magnetic to more
Hmm.
fun. To more
Exactly.
to opportunities and people and situations that create more fun. It's so magnetizing.
Hmm. Yeah, because we get what we focus on. So whenever you're focusing on what you don't want, you keep getting more of what you don't want. But if you focus on the fun and the joy and experience and all of
Yeah.
that, you keep having more fun and joy.
And fun is you can't be having fun and not be in the present moment.
Hmm. Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
Fun is present.
it's so present. It's so in this time, right? If you're here, but your mind's over there, you're not having fun.
Hmm.
Like you could be in a fun environment, right? You could be at the party, but if you're like, oh, I really have to work on, or you're like, if your mind's in the future, or in the past, you're not actually having fun. So fun is very present. It's
Hmm.
very here. And it's just, yeah, it's a very, very powerful, magnetizing emotion.
Hmm. Yeah, so I wonder, since we talk a lot about rhythm and sort of balance and joy and generational health and all of these different things that I talk about with my community, if you were to think about fun and how that kind of changes the rhythm of how you parent and how you lead that next generation, what would you want to share about that?
Yeah. So I invite in my family to join me in fun as much as possible. So I was going to share something that my stepdaughter, my oldest, wrote, and she says, this was so sweet. But there are a lot of she said, us kids all look up to you and your positive, radiant, and fun attitude, outlook on life. Um, and my son-in-law, thank you for always bringing joy and happiness wherever you go, and for all you mother. I was like, so sweet. Anyway, there were a lot of other sweet things, but they all thanked me so much for just being me and my energy that I bring this year on Mother's Day. It's like I wasn't tear the yeah, the cards are so sweet.
Mm.
But we will I have this thing, it's called a 30-second dance party. So it's in the living room right now, but it's this little button and you hit it and there's this German sounding voice like 30-second dance party and then it's like some techno music and it's
Mhm.
30 seconds, but we'll often as a family like one of us will hit it.
Mhm.
uh like when I said, oh, I finished writing the fun book, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, and they were all like 30-second dance party.
Love it.
To celebrate. So we've had a lot of I've had a lot of fun with the kids, and I'm so grateful. They actually not just love us, they like us, they want to hang out with us.
Mhm. Mm.
Um, that's why my son-in-law Jake, so my the oldest husband, when he was turning 30, his what he wanted to do for his birthday, what he wanted to do to celebrate is go rent a house in Mexico with us, his in-laws. So not with his mates, but with the family. And we spent like 4 days in this house in Mexico and surfing together and cooking together. We went ATV riding and um, it's yeah. So the when and that I think they liked us before. It was always like pleasurable, but we really hang out a lot. So the kids that we have fun together, and
Mm.
they actually really enjoy being with us. So
Mm.
the middle one, he just turned 27 earlier this in the week, and I was like me and the kids, and then Teo's friends, and we went to a trampoline, like an indoor trampoline park. So we were like bouncing and playing dodgeball, and there's like a zip line and a slide and like basketball. I was doing all the things, and I'm just jumping around. And I went to dinner with all of them, and it was so fun. So I think as a parent, I don't know if it's necessarily parent, but I invite the kids into the fun, and whenever they have a fun thing and like let's do it. I'm like I'm in. There's some so we can make things fun like cooking together or cleaning or all that. But my kids are older. Like my youngest is about to go off to college. She's a senior in high school. So but yeah, we have a lot of fun together. So I don't know, hopefully that answers your question about parenting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. It's a ripple effect. And that's what most of us want is we want to be able to watch our kids grow up and have them grow up to be happy and healthy and, full of life. We don't just like, oh, you know, go out there and conquer the world. We want them to
Yeah,
actually enjoy it. And so it's great that we can infuse fun into our
Yeah.
children in this way by showing them what it looks like. So that's what I love about that. So
Or
another
modeling it.
question, yes,
Yeah.
modeling it, yes. Another question I would have for you would be what used to be true for you, but isn't anymore?
Mm, what used to be true for me? I think at one point. Well, what used to be true, one is about like just being in pleasure wasn't is enough versus fun. I think what's more that let me think. This is a better insight. What used to be true for me was that there were these things like you have to do, right? What society says is what you should do to be happy and successful and healthy, wealthy, wise, right? And following like going to school, then grad school, then this, then that job, then then you get a house to live in, and you get married and have 2.5 kids and a dog, and like that, all that stuff, right? That
The
um
structure.
yeah, that will make you fabulously happy and successful. And it's outside what's this checklist that's um, developed by society. And I've realized that really it's the daily, the blissciplines, like these actions that help me tune into my truth about like and feeling happy now,
Mm,
getting into fun now and the joy now. And it's through like the internal work of making myself feel how I want to feel in this moment, feeling fun. That's what creates a life where I feel happy, healthy, wise,
mm.
wealthy, all of that. So
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think we touch much on the wealthy part, the financial freedom and accessing all of that. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience about your path and journey to financial success?
yeah. Um, I I mean, one of the things that I had gotten, and that was my TEDx talk was about this. We're taught to trade our time for money. And ultimately, what financial freedom as I define it, is when you have enough passive income that it equals or exceeds your expenses. Then you work because you want to, not because you have to. And so creating that, right? So having cash producing assets. So assets are things that put money into your pocket, not take money out of your pocket. Um, that's the journey. Ultimately, that's the game for me of wealth building is having creating assets that make having my money making me money, having my assets making me money, so I don't have to work. I work because I want to, not because I have to. So that's the ultimate game, um, and it can be fun, but I think that a lot of more people should focus on building that out versus just finding ways to trade their time for money. Even if you're making more per hour, right? It's like, well, so their job is like, well, how much more money per hour can I make? But
Hmm.
still, you're never going to be free if it's a time for money trade.
Hmm.
It only works when you're out of the when the money comes in, whether you're working, whether you're doing another job, where you're on vacation, whether you're sleeping, whether you're then it just comes in without you. That's
Hmm. Yes. Is that what made you focus on the real estate and helping women with that because of the way you can set things up? And
yeah, I mean, real estate is one of the best vehicles for that. And I got into that, and especially in the bigger way when I was doing commercial. I just got into commercial real estate, and I would go to these conferences, and it was just like 95% men in the room.
Hmm.
Um, and I had already, so when I left the law firm, I became a coach. And I ended up becoming an abundance coach for women. So I was already helping women in the area of money and abundance. And then I started to do this real estate stuff. And I was like, wow, okay, this is how wealth is built in this country. And a lot of these private placements, or people are writing six, seven, eight-figure checks for, for these types of investments or more. Um, it's like you often have to have these relationships. You need to know people. And I was like, Women don't know about this." And I remember hearing about one of these opportunities, or that's like syndication, bringing investors together. And I was talking to a law school friend of mine, law school buddy Steve. I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "I'm doing this thing. It's called syndication. We're bringing investors together, purchase, apartment buildings." He goes, "Oh yeah, I know about that." He's like, "Our other buddy, from law school, I've been investing with him for years. I made a fortune." It's like, I would have liked to have made a fortune.
Yeah, would have been
Like,
nice if you clued me
I
in,
wouldn't have
you know.
minded if you invited me into one of those deals. Like, how come I never heard about this?
Exactly.
And so that was a big part of what I created Real Estate Investor Guys, is just helping women have access to those opportunities that we were just not taught about.
Just weren't privy to. Well, we are running out of time. I'm so bad at this. Before we run out of time, I do want you to share your 7 days of fun kickstart, because I think that's a great way for people to start if they don't know where to start, right? Let them know a
Yes.
little bit about that, and I'll put the link in the chat and in the show notes of course, so they can access that.
Great.
So,
Yeah. So a lot of times, so many women are like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to do this, but I don't know. I don't have any ideas. How do I have fun? What do I do?" It's like they feel so, it's just like having fun is something that they feel like they haven't done in years and years and years. And so the 7 day fun kickstart just gives you simple, like 5 minute or less ideas that tap you back into that power. And it's not like having fun doesn't mean you have to do something all day or for hours. Literally, my 30-second dance party is, or something. It can be very short and very powerful, but it's just that intentionality. So the kickstart will just help you tap into it, but nothing will take more than 5 minutes. So if you're saying, "I'm too busy," you're not too busy. You can
mhm.
find time for fun.
Definitely. You can find 5 minutes. And if you can't find 5 minutes, we have a problem and we can help you out.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And some of them are less than 5 minutes, but it's
yes,
nothing longer than 5 minutes.
yes. And
Yeah.
so they can connect with you through that as well.
Hmm.
Once they
Yeah.
download that, they'll have information where they can reach out to you if they need further support. Or is there
Yes,
another way?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And
That's
then, of course, you also have the podcast that they can come and listen. Where can they find you for the podcast?
Yes, so the Fun and Bliss Show is everywhere that podcasts, so Apple, Spotify, all the things. You can find us on YouTube. And if you go to funandbliss.com, fun and bliss.com, you'll be able to access it and find out more.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much for being with me today, Monique. It's been fun. I've learned so much about fun that I didn't even realize I didn't know. So I'm like,
Isn't
learning new things about fun is fun, guys. So
it?
yes, and then about each other as well as all the synchronicities we have. That's
I
fun too.
know.
So I really enjoyed speaking with you and look forward to seeing how the Fun and Bliss podcast continues to evolve. And the book, you're gonna have to tell us when that comes out. You're gonna have to come back and maybe have another conversation with us so we'll be ready to get involved with getting the book on fun. So
Love that.
Thank you so very, very much. And for everyone that is watching or catches this on the replay, please leave us your biggest takeaway from this conversation in the comments. We really, really would love to know how this landed for you. So thank you so much for joining us today for the Harmony Principle podcast, and we will see you next Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you can return to rhythm.